All right, everybody, welcome. It is Tuesday night. It is 7 o'clock, and it is time for our weekly conversations with Commodores. And we've got a lineman who does not quite look the way he used to look when he was playing for us in the 2012 2015 time period for Coach Franklin and Coach Mason. I've got coming out of Tampa, Blake Fromang. Blake, good evening, and thank you for making some time for us tonight.
Of course, that's a great introduction. Yeah, that makes me feel good about myself. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
If you want to know what Blake used to look like in number 66 in his former life, was about 100 pounds heavier back in the day when he was protecting our linemen. But go check out some of those photos that he sent me that I posted in some of the previews. Blake, I know you're an Orlando guy, but now you're in Tampa working for a big law firm. Share a little bit about the current version of you and your life and what's going on, and then we'll jump back in the Wayback Machine in a few minutes.
Sure. I'm living in Tampa. I'm married to my beautiful wife. Got married last November. She's a state attorney up in Pasco County, which is a little north from us. She gets to do all the fun stuff. She puts the murderers and bad guys away so everyone else can sleep safe at night. So she's incredible. Recently got a house about a little over a year ago. So life's good, just kind of settling in and getting, I feel like a full adult now. So it's just getting into that process. My body's starting to hurt a little bit more. I play law league pickup basketball sometimes. I twisted my back up the other week. So my athleticism's just sharp decline since I played at Vandy.
Do you know what this is right here?
Is that a small violin?
That's right. And that's how much we want to hear about your less than 30-year-old old body going through
Oh,
all
okay.
this. Suck it
I'll
up,
spare you.
Buttercup. Well, Blake, it's you've only been out, less than 10 years. It probably feels like 30 years the way you're describing it. But now that you've been removed, you graduated from Vanderbilt Law School. Now you've got your a job with a big law firm and lots of responsibilities. Does it feel like it's been less than 10 years since you graduated from Vanderbilt, or does it feel like it's been a longer than that time?
Um, Sometimes it feels like a whole lifetime ago. I mean, the amount of growth I've done, mentally and getting into law is just an insane journey to go on. But sometimes it feels like it was a whole lifetime ago. Other times, I'll have a dream, I'm right back in the locker room. So other times it's like, wow, I feel like I was just there. So it comes and goes, but I'd say for the most part, it feels like a lifetime ago.
Well, while we're on this more modern group of topics, one of the questions that I always am curious about is the transition when our playing days are over, that transition into what I'll call the civilian life. It's usually one of only four things happen. You graduate, you run out of eligibility, injury takes you out of the sport, or if you're one of those lucky few who goes into the pros, you retire based on one of those reasons. So I want to ask you about your I'll call it separation or retirement, whatever you want to call it. But when your playing days were finished with Vanderbilt, what was that transition like for you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? Was it tough on you, or did it take a while for it really to kind of sink in and get adjusted to the new version of what was going on for you?
I'd say when, the doors closed on that, it was very tough at first. I mean, as you're developing in high school, when you get into college, you kind of start figuring out who you are. And football was a very large part of my identity. It's everyone I hung around. It was every day of the week, even Sunday. It was who I was. And, when that came to an end, I had a pretty decent sense of self, but it was like a big part of you and who you are is taken away.
Yeah.
And you go from having meals paid for, class paid for, books paid for, everything taken care of for you to, oh my God, I got to grow up and pay bills and start acting like, other people who weren't fortunate enough to have the scholarship I was, which I don't take for granted. I'm blessed to have had it, but it was a big, you know, like figure it out moment. What am I going to do next with my
Mhm.
life? You're so stuck thinking about football and you're just worried about the next game or next practice or next workout. Me personally, I wasn't I should have been more mature. I wasn't thinking as much about what my life was going to look like after football. I was kind of just taking it day by day and enjoying the ride. So it was tough at first for sure. Uh, I went into a little bit of a shell, had to work on myself, came out of it, with a plan and said, I'm going to make something of myself. I want to go to law school and see what happens. So I'm glad I took that bet on myself, and I feel like it was the right decision for me. So I'm on the other side of it now. But yeah, it was tough. To come back to your answer is really tough.
Tell me if this resonates with you at all. It's Tuesday, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you finished with your playing days, but your muscle memory, your body is telling you, wait, I'm supposed to be in the weight room right now. But you didn't have to be there because your
Yep.
days were over. You had to then fill your time. Did you go through that period? Because I know almost all of us, we wake up after an afternoon nap and we're sweating because we feel like we've overslept the pre-practice, position meeting. Did you ever have any of that go through your experiences?
Oh, I still wake up with nightmares being late to a meeting because the way it was, I'm not sure how it was when you were there, but if you were even a minute late or a second past, when you were supposed to be there, you were up at 5 a.m. the next day running until you puke. Like they made it the absolute worst time of your life. So yeah, I still wake up like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
Hey,
Still,
the saying used to be is if you're on time, you're late.
yep.
So yeah. Guys, I've got Blake Fromang from the Tampa area. He played 2012, 2015, 2016 graduate, played for Franklin and Mason. He's now a lawyer in Florida. We got Dexter Daniels and OJ Juice Fleming in the house with us tonight. Welcome, gentlemen. Uh, Blake, let's back up. Let's back up to Orlando growing up, Lake Highland Prep. How did you or did you as a kid dream of playing for the Gators or the Hurricanes or the somebody in state or a little closer to home, as opposed to Franklin ended up convincing you not to go to UVA and that you should be on Jess Neely Drive?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be candid with all of you guys. My entire family's Gator fans. I was raised going to Gator games. I got the golden era of it back when they had Tebow, they had Chris Leaks, the two football national championships, and they had Joakim Noah and all them with the basketball championship.
Yeah.
So I was just living it up. I was probably the most obnoxious Gator fan growing up.
Well, that was probably what your middle school, junior high
Yeah.
year. Man, that would if I was that age and that was my school, how could you not hook, line, and sinker? Particularly if your family all went to Florida. My whole family went to Bama, so I grew up a Bama fan. So I didn't know I'd end up in Nashville until I did, but keep going.
Yeah, I started getting recruited from some schools. I did a Florida Gator camp. Um, I was told there that DJ Humphreys, a five-star tackle, committed there, and I was like, all right, well, this sucks. So I had to pivot, and I wanted to go to a school with a very good education. So I randomly was like, oh, UVA sounds like a very cool place to go. Never been up to that area. They started recruiting me heavy. I was about to commit there, and then Coach Franklin came in and said, "Hey, we're going to offer you at Vanderbilt." And at the time, I was a Gator fan. I was pompous. I was like, "Vanderbilt? Like, what are you talking about?" And he said, "Oh yeah, up in Nashville, we're in the SEC." I was like, "Oh, okay, for sure." Then I started really following along. He brought me up for a visit and was in my ear, sending me letters all the time.
Mhm.
Um, and I just got to research it and research it and research it. And the year in 2011, he had gone to a bowl game. So what I ended up doing was it was the night before I think I committed. I made like a list on a piece of paper of everything I wanted between UVA and Vandy. And I checked, boxes like city, degree,
Mhm.
conference, coach. I don't even remember. And all of them checked better for Vandy. So I was like, you know what? If I got to look back on this decision 15, 20, 40 years from now, at least I can say I made the most informed decision at the time and I won't regret it. And I haven't. So that's how I ended up doing that.
And where's that paper now?
Oh my God, I don't know.
I bet you've got it somewhere in storage, or maybe your folks have it somewhere. Guys, we got let's see, Doug Bradley and Gary Veach are now in the house with us. Welcome, gentlemen. Blake, when you first went up to Vanderbilt, was it for the official recruiting visit, or did you go unofficial with your family? Or share a little bit about that experience.
Sure. So I'm fortunate enough to come from a family of attorneys, so I was privileged growing up. When I started getting all these offers, my mom was like, "Let's go on a road trip during the summer; it'd be fun." So we ended up going. We drove up to Wake Forest, went to Louisville, Cincinnati, Kentucky, stopped at Vanderbilt too. It just did kind of a circuit around that area with those colleges. And when I saw Vanderbilt for the first time, listen, we're not even close to the best stadium or weight room. So the facilities, I was like, eh. So like it, but Franklin talked me up. So it left me with like a good taste in my mouth. Like I think this could go somewhere. But I love Nashville. They took me to get barbecue there. I was a fat boy, so I loved it. Best food, definitely on the road trip by far. But I just kept an open mind to it, and Franklin just kept wearing on me, wearing on me, wearing on me. After that,
You might, I don't want you to sound like you made a mistake by coming to Vanderbilt at all. But what you may have overlooked, if you'd had the foresight, you could have been in the Super Bowl box with Jason Kelsey and Blake Lively and whatever her name is. If you'd have committed to Cincinnati, that was about the same time period. Travis was still there.
he was the thing that stopped me from going there is Butch Jones was their coach who was
Yeah.
recruiting me there.
Yeah.
And my mom has incredible foresight and knows how people think and how they're acting. She's like, he's
Yeah.
gonna leave. Like she got that vibe from him. So she
Uh-huh.
was like, don't, like this isn't something you need to be doing.
Well, you can either thank your mom or blame your mom. Either way, that's up to you. But that's kind of funny that the paths could have crossed. But ultimately, Franklin, who is a superior recruiter, convinced you that this was the right place. Do you remember your recruiting visit? Do you remember who your
Yes,
hosts were and those kind of things? Now, look, you're still
I do.
young enough that the statute of limitations has not expired in Nashville. So proceed at your own caution what you may or may not want to share of that visit.
Okay. So if that's the case, then all of this allegedly happened. I'm not
Alleged.
saying
Okay.
it's true. I'm not saying,
Allegedly.
yeah,
We got
allegedly,
you.
right?
We got you.
Uh, so Walker May hosted me, and then they had Jimmy Stewart out of Island Coast. I played him in high school in Florida. We were friends, and he hosted me too. Um, we went. Here's what I can remember of it. We went to dinner with the coaches. It was great. They had us in the hotel room across from the stadium. They had this cake that had my name on it, which I thought was great. Balloons, the whole works. Uh, Mom went to sleep. I said I want to go look around a little bit. I
Mhm.
allegedly ended up at some places, uh, drinking some alleged non-diet cokes, like soda type beverages. Like I won't offer more than that. Uh, Learned some dance moves I'd never done before. Tried those out,
Nice.
and then I haven't really told anyone this story. When I got back to my hotel room, it's okay. I'll say statute of limits is passed. I allegedly threw up behind the fake plant in the room and I tried to hide it. And my mom woke up and was like, "What is that smell?" And I was like, "Mom, we just got to go." So, no, she found it. And she was just laughing at me the whole time, calling me a lightweight. So that all allegedly
I'm
happened.
throwing
I
shade.
can't confirm.
I'm
No,
throwing some
she cooked me
serious.
up. She cooked me up. Yeah, she was laughing. It was like, oh my, I remember when I was a 5 year old, I was like, okay, like relax.
Well, apparently it made enough of an impression to you to commit to Franklin and to the program. And do you recall, as most of us, when we come out of our high school programs, we're big fish in little ponds for the most part. But everybody's that way when we get to the college level. Do you remember whether it was your freshman year or any time after that when you obviously now we're transitioning to campus,
Yeah.
but do you recall a kind of a welcome to the SEC moment for you? Did you get lit up by a linebacker? Did you get lit up by a coach? What was that moment, if you remember any?
Well, there were plenty of them. That wasn't just one, but welcome to the SEC moment. Okay. Definitely my first workout with Dwight Galt. All of us freshmen came in and he took us out for a run. And what I mean, like everyone was dying in our class, everyone was dying. We all got back to the locker room. No one was talking because everyone's like kind of posturing and feeling themselves out, and everyone else when they first get there. We got broke off so bad. I remember sitting in my locker with my head in my hands. I'm like, I got 4 or 5 years of this. Oh my God. That was definitely a moment. Um, Coach Hand is my mentor. I love him to death. He lit me up a couple times freshman year, especially in the spring. Yeah, those film meetings were definitely welcome to SEC moments. Another one is my sophomore year. I lined up against Jadeveon Clowney on field goal, and I was like, because he, at the time that I was there, and he was a senior. He was, I don't even know how to compare him to. He was just like the mecca of college football at that
Well, he
time.
was projected a top five, if not top two pick by that point.
Yeah, I looked at him in the eyes, and he stared right through my soul. So after the play, he was like, "Damn, you're tall," and I was like, yes, I'm tall. And then I just went back to the sideline and I told my buddy, I was like, Jadeveon Clowney just said something to me. That's awesome.
He knocked the crap out of you, picked you back
Yeah,
up,
yeah, he
but
did. But
he
I was like,
recognized you're tall.
it's like I think we're friends. I don't know. Could be boys.
How tall? How much were you weighing at your freshman sophomore years?
Freshman, I came in at like 280, got up to around 300. Sophomore years when I took the plunge, and then all of us. So in my offensive line class, we had Will Holden, Andrew Jelks, Barrett Gouger, Kevin McCoy. Like, I don't know what happened. All of us gained like 20 or 30 pounds. So I was like 320 my sophomore year. And I tell everyone this, it wasn't like a good looking NFL lineman weight. I had a gut. And I just would look at myself in the mirror every day and say, how could anyone love you looking like this? But I fought through it.
Oh,
It was
wow.
a tough time for me.
Wow. You found that training table, I guess. Was
Oh, I
Magic
found it and then some.
was Magic running the training table at that time, or was there somebody else?
He was for my first 2 years. And then I think they switched it or something happened. I don't remember.
And was it in Magoogan, or had they moved it?
It was in Magoogan. And then they had the meal card, which was like I forget, like 50 to 75 bucks a week. You could go to like Chili's after the game and just pig out or Wendy's. So needless to say, we maxed out those cards every week. We left no
I,
money on the table.
I was going to say probably by Tuesday night those cards were pretty empty.
Oh yeah.
What was your favorite time of the week as a student athlete at Vanderbilt? With away from football or football, but what day and time of the week, and why was that your favorite?
We're talking about in season or out of season.
You tell us.
Um, in season, I like the practice on air before the game, where you just got your shoulder pads on or whatever, and you're just kind of going through it. You're just a long week. You're beating the heck out of each other every day. I enjoyed those, just locking in and focusing in on the game plan and getting your mind right. I enjoyed that process. Off season, whenever on Friday after the morning workouts were done, because that meant I had the weekend to go enjoy Nashville a little bit.
And were your grades better or worse in the off season versus during the season?
Uh, you know, mine was more of a maturity thing. My first couple years, I just was in over my head. And my last couple years, I really locked in on grades in season and out of season. And I ended up making honor roll and dean's list and all that. So I wouldn't say it's so much a time of year. It's just like me mentally saying like, I really got to commit to this or not. I made it happen both times or, on in season and off season when I got there mentally.
You had probably one with, like you said, maturity, but two, you figured out the system. You figured out
Mhm.
how what works best for you. And the guys and women who play their respective sports, if you don't figure out your priorities, if you don't follow that regiment, as strict as it may be, particularly during the season, you're not going to be there very long. And you don't have to name names, but you probably had guys wash out from your class or the classes around you because of some of those and maybe other reasons, maybe maturity, maybe they just didn't like it there, maybe they didn't get enough playing time or whatever it may be. But if you're going to be at Vanderbilt, wouldn't it fair to say that you've got to have a regimented schedule and you got to stick to it if you're going to be successful?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. A lot of it too is, I did all right in high school. There were definitely kids who tried harder and got better grades than me. I always kind of pushed it aside. And when I got to Vandy and it just clicked one day, I was like, if you actually try, you can get good grades. So I really just put my full effort into it and said, I'm going to give this my all. And that's when I started seeing success in the classroom and everything I was doing there. So I think, at least for me, growth wise, and it helped me when I went into law school. Say I can compete with anybody mentally. I'm not just some big dumb jock who plays football all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big, good transition period for me to say I'm going against the brightest, in the country as classmates and submitting papers along with them. And I'm actually doing well, so I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing to start believing in yourself in the classroom too, not just on the football field.
Well, that's what I was gonna to transition to is that as athletes, if we're going to succeed, we have to be confident. We have to have whether depending on your personality, you either have that quiet confidence in yourself and what you can do on the field, or if your personality lends to it, you're more of a rah-rah type. When did you find your athletic confidence at Vanderbilt?
I'd say spring football my freshman year with Coach Han. He started really, I redshirted, so the fall season he's worried about everyone else. In the spring, I really took some strides. I worked really hard to like learn the playbooks, get the technique down, everything like that. And I started getting opportunities and I started, going into sophomore year, we had a very talented offensive line. Andrew Jokes, I will tell you, probably the most athletic and best tackle in our class. He got hurt. Will Holden's very good too, but I started seeing the field more and more and more. So I'd say over my sophomore season is really where my confidence started to go up because Coach Han was just giving me a bunch of opportunities. I mean, I got to the second half of the Wake Forest game. I got to go in at right tackle the whole second half because I forget who was in there got hurt. I got to block on that play against Tennessee that year where Patton did the fake jump pass end around. The opportunities and reps like that, and when you execute it, yeah, that's what built my confidence for sure.
Well, your freshman year that you redshirted, the team goes 9-4.
Hmm.
Sophomore year, 9-4. So, but then there is 3-9, 4-8, 6-7. And I assume that's the transition to when Franklin left.
Right, that is.
And I kind of want to go into that just a little bit, the transition.
Sure.
And I've had others who played for both, probably your year or within your year or two, that, and as we learn either through experience like you did, or we read about it in the media, when college coaches leave for a different program or a new program, sometimes the exits just happen and there's no closing meeting, there's no notice. You may read about it on social media before you hear about it at Magoogan. What was your let's just use the offensive line group, your position. When did you guys learn about Franklin's departure and Mason's coming on board?
If my memory serves me correct, there were some. I guess there's rumors going around on ESPN and stuff during our BVVA Compass Bowl week when we were actually. I think was it Birmingham, Alabama.
Yep, we were
Yeah,
there. That was a
we
big one
we got
for Houston.
we started hearing rumblings on TV, and Franklin didn't say much about it. Um, I remember he may have said something effective, "I'm not going anywhere" or something like that, but it wasn't really. It was kind of just in the air. And then we win the game. We get back to campus, and we have a team meeting, and he just tells us, "Guys, I'm going to Penn State." And then the rest is history. He packed up his stuff and went up there.
Do you remember the emotion in the room? And what I mean by that is some guys already knew or had a premonition. Others had no clue, and it really took them by shock, surprise. Do you remember how you felt when you heard that?
Um, yeah, I mean, all of us kind of anticipated it. He's a Pennsylvania guy. Penn State's the dream job. I don't, I don't harbor any ill will. In fact, I kind of understand. I mean, the resources at Penn State are so far above and beyond what he was going to get at Vanderbilt. The recruits he's going to get, they're going to, it's complete. I completely got it. I was, there's a little shock that goes with it for sure, but it wasn't any part of me like angry or you broke your promise to me or you lied. It wasn't anything like that. I just kind of understood like you gotta if you're him with his background, I don't see how he wouldn't take that job.
Well, which, knowing that situation, which Taylor Swift song most appropriately describes what happened? No, I'm kidding. We can move on.
I gotta ask my wife. I don't know all the Taylor Swift songs like
I was
that.
going to say, if you threw out a title, one, I wouldn't know what the song's about, but two, I'd be very impressed.
What's the
Anyway,
one that's we're never getting back together? I guess that one.
yeah, I'm sure. I am sure. Blake, Franklin leaves, Mason comes
Huh?
on, two different personalities, two different cultures, just completely different from what I've always been told. Obviously, I wasn't there. Was your impression that things just changed completely under Coach Mason? Or did you have any? I mean, did you lose Coach Hand at the same time? I think he went with him, didn't
Yeah. So what happened was just briefly, Coach Hand stayed around a little bit because he wanted to apply as the head coach
he? Mm-hmm.
at Vanderbilt.
Right.
I remember myself and other players on the team wrote letters to Candace Story Lee or it might have been David Williams. I don't remember who we wrote them to, but we're like this, Coach Hand's incredible. He's a great coach. He's gonna carry the torch on from Franklin in many respects. They have the same energy and mindset about things. Hire him, please. Like he knows how to do this. And it ended up not being him, so he went up to Penn State.
Yeah.
Um, to answer your other question, yeah, there's definitely a different philosophy with Coach Mason than Coach Franklin.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but the results obviously were drastically different. But it was also, there was so much talent, so much contribution that left the team because of graduation or NFL after that 13 season. There was really a drop off in production, if you will. At least that's the way it was from those sitting in the stands. I don't know how it
I
was in the
I
clubhouse.
agree with you. No, I agree with you. Also, though, if you look at it, like Trace McSorley was committed to us, who is Penn State's all-star quarterback. We had a
Right.
bunch of guys committed to us. That was about to be another very good class coming in. That got decimated and poached. Um, and you come in, you install a new offense with guys who've been running the same thing for what, 3, 4 years now. You get a new strength coach, different strength philosophy than we've ever had. New defense. You go from the 4-3 to like a 3-5 defense. You're changing people's body types to fit that defensive scheme. Like I don't know. It was such a big, ambitious move to change all of our philosophies that much. And then, you know, you bring in some quarterbacks. I thought Pat and Robin that got a raw deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'll in full disclosure for my bias, he's one of my best friends. We've been really good friends for a long time. I didn't think he got a fair shake at quarterback. They pulled. I don't remember if it was the Temple game or whatever. They pulled him, and he never really saw the field again. Which I'm like, this guy just beat Tennessee last year on a fake jump pass and was doing a lot of good things. So I'm not the coach. I don't get paid to coach, but I thought he got a raw deal.
Blake, that play, I think, is one of the top 15 most memorable Vanderbilt plays probably in the last 50 years. I mean, everybody remembers the what he did, and just so good, so good. Best
Yeah.
best time to do it, best place to have it done. That's
Oh,
for
it's the
sure.
best. Oh yeah, that's a high. Other than getting married, that's number two.
Blake, any thoughts in your process when Franklin left about transferring? about quitting playing football and just being a student? Did any of that waver? It would have been, to me, it would be very natural for a lot of guys to think that, or to maybe even want to transfer to Penn State, hoping that Coach Franklin would offer. But for you personally, did that ever enter the thought process?
No, I'll tell you what, the camaraderie I had with my friends, really, it was at the time it was Andrew Jokes, Barrett Gauger, and Sean Dowling and Patton. Like, those are still my best friends to this day. I couldn't see myself leaving. I knew I went there for the education. I wanted it because if I got hurt, the worst I have is a Vanderbilt degree. And that always stuck with me. So no, and we were all, I don't think we didn't even broach the subject with each other about transferring or leaving. We were going to stay. I mean, we're brothers. We didn't want to leave each other. We had a great setup there, and we are going to weather the storm.
Well, it's interesting the way you just described it. Sean was on the program several months back.
Yeah.
He basically echoed what you just said. Or you echoed what he's previously said.
Yeah. It was never a thought in our mind. It's just like, I know that the stuff out of your control is going on, but when you have such a good real thing like that, like it still is, it's tough to find connections like that where you're just with your best friends doing something fun every single day. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Well, can you wrap your head around the current college athlete with NIL, transfer portal, and all of these new things that are, they're, what are we, into the fourth year of this, and it's still uncontrolled, it's not governed, it's still the Wild West. But have you and your buddies ever talked about, man, if we had that then, I'd be eating Gaddy's pizza for free for the rest of my whatever it was. But could you imagine that time period?
Yeah, it'd be crazy. I mean, it's going to laissez-faire economics with the NIL stuff. I mean, they're just going to keep striking every regulation and enforcement down left and right because you can't really apply them equally to anybody. So I mean, it's going to be hands off. Listen, it would have been awesome to I don't know how much I would have been paid, but a couple tens of thousands would have been cool. I'm sure it would have been for my buddies, but I don't know. In a way, like, money comes and goes, memories are forever. So like, I'm glad that didn't influence any of us to leave or act a certain type of
Well,
way. If I needed it socioeconomically, which again, I'm telling you, I come from
yeah.
a privilege. If I needed it socioeconomically, I understand that too. Like, I'm coming from a place of privilege. If I needed to feed my family or take care of somebody or something, my thought process would be the other way, and I'd say I need it. So
Well, I was going to say, you probably also, just like I did, had many teammates who received Pell Grants and other federal funded assistance programs. Even though they're on full scholarship,
right.
they still could hardly afford to be there. And so, yeah, I believe me, we had plenty of affluent ball players on the program, and during my years, just as many, if not many more, who were the other end of the socioeconomic scale. Blake, let me kind of change topics a little bit.
Sure.
During your years, a lot of guys give their one of two experiences. From a social standpoint, from a networking standpoint, they did not experience or seek out anything really outside of what I'll call the football bubble, the football family, Magoogan. They really just hung around the other athletes and just did what they had to do to remain eligible, to graduate, and to get out of there. That's one camp. Then you have the other camp who utilized to the best that they could the resources on campus, whether it was guys or women in their fraternity or sororities for networking purposes. They knew football was not going to be their after Vanderbilt career, so they utilized that. Now, back in my day, we didn't have the organized resources they have now, like the Student Center for Success, the Ingram Center, or frankly, we didn't even have organized tutoring. During your years, that was just starting to really get a lot more organized. Sorry for the long intro to that, but what is your experience from networking versus staying in the bubble?
Um, Due to time constraints with football, I'd probably say I fall into the bubble talk. I definitely had some friends in classes and on campus. You know, you go to a party or something here and there. I definitely had Vanderbilt uh, student friends for sure. I wasn't just stuck with the athletes. It was just tough because it's like if you don't water the plant or water a relationship, it's not going to grow. I just didn't have time. You know, they're going on formals, they're going to parties, they're doing a bunch of different things. I got workout at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I don't feel like getting drunk or getting after it with you. I want to just go to sleep in my dorm room. So, I mean, I did what I could. I definitely spoke and had some friends, you know, that are normal students, but it's tough. And in terms of the resources, um, I wish, you know, hindsight's 2020. Looking back, I would have done a little bit more with the resources, but at the same time, I didn't even know what questions to ask, like what I needed help with at the time. It's not like I knew it and I just decided not to do it. I just, you know, I was an 18, 19-year-old kid who had no idea what he was about to do with his life. I'm just worried about the next practice. You know, if it's like go talk to Student Career Center for Success. Why do I got to worry about that right now? I got a film to watch. So, yeah, that's kind of just where I landed in all of that, if that makes sense.
Well, it does because time is the most precious commodity that any of us have as a student athlete in college. Because going back to the priorities, frankly, a lot of times you want to be resting or asleep because you just don't have much luxury of that middle of the afternoon nap that your
Yeah,
neighbor may get because you're watching film or you're lifting. But you're so right about the the age and the maturity of, when you're 18, 19, first getting in there versus maybe when you're a junior or senior or maybe a fifth year guy, you really do have a different perspective on those things. And I never want somebody to look back and regret any of their decision making. Clearly, you've come through it. You're a lawyer, you've married, all of that. Things work out. But
yeah,
had you not done certain things to put yourself into that position, maybe some of these other goals might not have developed or panned out the way that you wanted them to.
absolutely. And you know, I'm a man of faith. I believe that, you know, I've gotten so many lucky breaks that are not of my own doing. I just, you know, happen to show up at the right place at the right time. And there's so many mistakes that I made along the way that could have cost me heavily that I don't know how I got through them and I'm where I'm at here today. It's nothing, no doing of my own. I've gotten so many lucky breaks and I'm thankful for them. I can't sit here and tell you, you know, I did everything right. I deserve and I earned this. I get from even the family I was born into to just so many lucky breaks for me. I mean, my parents are lawyers. They helped me with law school, figure out if I wanted to do it or not. If I didn't have that guidance or just catch breaks, it could have been so different. One little variable off and it would have been a whole different life experience.
Well, I hope you've looked in the mirror long enough to realize some of the questionable characters you really hung with, making those memories during your years at Vanderbilt. So, maybe that's where you start if you're being serious. Guys, I've got Blake Fromang. He's from Tampa now. He grew up in Orlando. He played during the Franklin and Mason times. Blake, what was not pleasant? What is something about the playing of a college sport on the D1 level in the SEC that really is something that you might pass on to either current ball players, student athletes, or future ones that, learning from your lessons that you'd want to share in your now ripe old age of 29 from what you've gone through?
I'd say definitely something that I would have changed a little bit is my mindset going into it, my attitude about how I want to attack everything. You know, I was still young and stupid. When I got tired, you know, I could have done some things better. I would say just go into it with a mindset to just attack every day. If you're stressed or freaked out, just put one foot in front of the other and keep moving. Don't let it stall you out. And really, I had a pretty injury plagued career. I had a very my knees got absolutely destroyed on multiple occasions. And that injury rehab process is very lonely. You feel very isolated from the team. They're on the field, you're on the sideline on a bike. You have to show up early morning to get rehab and treatment, and everyone's like, "Why aren't you better already?" And you get back out there, you get hurt again. It's like it is just such a bad cycle to be in. And if you do find yourself in that cycle, just know that you're not alone. I know you can feel like just a weight on everybody. You feel like you're not contributing. You feel less than. I definitely went through those emotions. Just find someone to talk to because your friends don't feel that way about you. Your coaches don't feel that way about you. Just get through it. Everyone loves you. You just got to take that process on yourself and fight through it and get to the other side because there is a light at the end of the tunnel on it.
And if I may ask, if you don't mind sharing, how did you break through that? I'm going to call it depressed state during your time of injury. How did you break through it to allow yourself to get back at what some sense of normalcy was for you?
I called my mom a lot. I definitely did. I'm a mama's boy. I called her a lot. I just kept showing up. I was like, if just keep showing. That was kind of my motto in college. No matter how bad the workout got or anything got, I was like, just keep showing up the next day. Go home, sleep it off. Just show up. Just show up. Just show up. Because like 90% of people, maybe that's too high, but a large percent of people, when the going gets tough, they just quit. And it's like, all right, if you're competing against those people, you're already winning if you just show up to it. You're already ahead of the game. So I just was like, I'm gonna just keep showing up, and good things will happen. So that's what I told myself.
And some words of wisdom right there, because you're right. Just showing up is most of the accomplishment. And then hopefully the rest of it takes care of itself because your mindset is already there. But just to be clear, the same mother who you kept calling for advice is the one who threw you under the bus during your recruiting visit. I want to make sure it's same mom.
Same mom, yeah.
Same mom.
I tell everyone I was raised by a wolf. She's a very successful attorney in Orlando, and I don't know why I ever thought I was going to lie as a kid and tell her stories that weren't true. She saw right through them immediately. Now that I'm on the other side and I know what she knows, I was like, I was such an idiot thinking I could outsmart her. So I was raised by a wolf, but at the same time, she's very nurturing and caring when I'd call her and I was upset. So, but she'd also say, all right, quit crying, like get back in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's
No,
tough
having
love.
I was going to say, having a support system like that from family and friends back home who have not necessarily gone through the same things, but have gone through similar things in their own lives, that's so important. And I think it's so overlooked, particularly when a student athlete gets hurt, because, well, now they have sports psychologists and other mental therapists that are part of the athletics program. We certainly didn't have that during my day, and I doubt that you guys had much of an organized version of that. Certainly not what it looks like today. But to
Right.
have family is just so vitally important, or at least have an outlet to be able to express how you feel. You're so right about that, Blake. Um, let's talk about blending in on campus when you are twice the size of the average dude who was walking around at Surratt. Did you
Yeah.
have did you have experiences where the non-athlete student is either a little jealous or throws some shade at you because you get everything taken care of for you because your scholarship, the way they would describe it. And here they are, complaining about what you get. Who knows what their situation was? Did you ever have those confrontations?
No, I tell you, I never had that experience at all. I was friends with people who came from very, 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 wealthy backgrounds, all the way to the people who got in with a scholarship. There wasn't any I never had those conversations. I always tried to treat everyone, I'm happy to meet you. I'm interested in talking to you. I tried to be as nice as I could to everybody. And, honestly, everyone was super nice back to me. Yeah, you get to how tall are you? And if I hear that one more time, I already heard it like twice this week. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm 6'7", so like that's the end of it. But other than that, how tall are you or any of that stuff, everyone was super nice. Like I don't know what it was like when you were there, but times when I was there, everyone was just excited to talk to you and meet you. Oh, you play football? Super cool. It's like, Yeah, it's awesome. So I didn't have any issues with any students there. They're all nice.
Two questions about your height. I'm not going to ask you how the weather is. One, how's your jump shot these days? And two, did you find it to be an advantage for your height to play the position that you did?
Um, Jump shot is worse than it's ever been. Worst shape of my life right now. I was like 4 for 12 in law league. I'm like the tall, goofy white guy in the church league who just gets rebounds and puts them back up. That's what I do. I was like 0 for 3 on the free throw line too. So jump shot's horrible.
Blake, I'm sure
Height.
your mother has told you everyone has their strengths. You just need to figure out what yours is and capitalize on
I
that.
just get rebounds.
That's
I'm
right.
Dennis Rodman, defense and rebounds. But in terms of
Your height and your
was height an advantage?
yeah.
Mentally for me, it was. I was taller than most about anybody I was playing against. So at least mentally, I was like, can't be that scary. I'm taller than you. As stupid as that sounds, it definitely made me think that way. Um, Arm length was good. I don't I don't know how much the height actually helps other than like arm length and stuff, but just kind of a mental edge, of getting over your pregame jitters and seeing, oh, they're not as tall, at least as dumb as that sounds. That's what helped me.
Well, none of the quarterbacks you protected were 6'7". How did they have to find lanes in between? How did that work when you were on the field?
I mean, shoot, who do I have?
I
Patton
mean,
was tall enough. He could move around fine.
yeah,
Austin Curtis Samuels, he had Jordan Matthews, so no issue there. He could throw it wherever, and Jordan Matthews would catch it.
yeah.
Um, Wade Freebeck was like 6'4", so he was tall. Steven Rivers was actually about my height. Johnny McCrary was 6'3", 6'4", so they were tall enough to see over me. But yeah, I think there was a time, might have been Johnny McCrary. We were in the huddle. He was like, bend down, like you're too damn tall. Like I'm trying to see what the receiver's doing.
Well, it couldn't have been the game he had the 5 touchdown passes, I'm sure. Blake, looking at the game today, do you follow it or have you stepped away from the sport and you'll come back to it at some point?
I follow it. I follow it. I definitely do. To my wife's chagrin, I make her watch all the Vandy games with me. It hasn't been a lot of fun the last couple of
Ooh, that's
years.
a test right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where'd she go undergrad?
She went to USF, the University of South Florida. So she's not doing too hot either with her team. So we're just both miserable together.
Well, when you watch the modern game, are there things about the line play that you wish were part of your game even 8, 9, 10 years ago?
I'd seen that much of a change in offensive line play. I think scheme wise, yes, but in terms of technique, it's all kind of the same from what I remember seeing and doing with Coach Han. If that's a testament to him or if it hasn't changed much, I'm not sure. But I mean, the double team techniques, the pass set, all of that stuff is borderline identical.
When was the last time you set a pass block on your wife in the kitchen, not letting her get through the kitchen? And how was that? How
Not
well
that
received was
actually
that?
not that long ago.
I
Actually, not
knew
that
it.
long
I
ago.
knew it.
There was like one cookie left or something, and it was definitely hers. I'd eaten my share. And I was like, I just sometimes you got to stand for something or fall for anything, and that was my line in the same moment. So I was working her with the left side pass pro. She tried to hit me with a swim move, so I switched over to the right.
Swim move, nice.
I won the rep, but I lost the war. She got the cookie.
Yeah, you might want to pick and choose those battles, my friend. Blake, we got just a couple more minutes, and I
Yeah.
appreciate your time. Let's talk about this core group of friends who you've mentioned a couple of times. They're clearly still important in your life, and now all you guys are just recently married or getting married. You're
Huh?
going to be getting together again, and then you never know the next times you guys get together. Is everybody spread out around the country, or is you got anybody local to you? And how often do you guys either get together in person or have this group text, which probably not many spouses should be reading it at this point?
Um, so we're all pretty spread out. I think Will Holden is living in Nashville. Andrew Jokes is in Paris, Tennessee. He's the hometown hero there. So he's staying, he's coaching ball and doing he took over his dad's insurance company. Barrett Gagger's up in Missouri.
Mhm.
I think he's like a VP of a company or something. He hit it big. Sean actually got a job in Orlando, so I've been seeing Sean a decent amount. It's only about a 2 hour drive for me. Saw him a couple weeks ago. He
Nice.
went to the Marines, has a six pack, just looks great. He married a an Olympic swimmer, Kathleen Baker, with the
Yeah.
gold. She's incredible. Patton is still doing his residency up at Duke, so he went to Vandy Med School and then went to Duke. Um, so he's just, I don't know. I feel like med school never ends. So he's just so busy. I've been trying to coordinate with him. We all try to get together. At times we'll go to a game or just pick a destination place to go. I try to see everyone the best I can. It's just life gets in the way. We don't have kids, or Will has kids, but like most of us don't. So that only get more complicated when we start having kids.
Well, and you kind of avoided strategically the second question that I had there. I'll ask it a little differently. How often does that group text ping in your hand with
Oh,
just comments about, it could be about nothing, and you guys are laughing at whatever it is?
all the time. I mean, all the time. We still keep in touch. We talk, at least a couple times a month. How are you doing? What's going on, guys? Most of it's very stupid inside jokes that no one would understand, and you think less of me. So I don't want to get into that, but we're all
I want
very
to I
close.
want to pause you right there because you said something earlier tonight that really defines what college team sports are all about for us, for most of us. Money comes and goes, but memories are forever. And those memories are part of that text thread.
Yep.
And to me, and to probably 99% who've been on this show, is probably the most memorable part of playing college football for Vanderbilt.
Hmm.
Not the scoreboard, not the bad grades. It's everything that you've done with your buddies, going through the wars together. Tell me if this resonates with you and your crew. Hanging out at whatever off campus place, just doing dumb stuff, but it's with your buddies. Core memories. Does that fit for you as well?
Yeah, and one thing you said resonated with me. What brings everyone together is you're all suffering together with workouts and going through it and training, and you really, you see people break down mentally, physically, emotionally, and you build each other back up. And when you have to run that last sprint at the end of practice and everyone's dying, but if you don't make your time, everyone's got to run it again. So you do it for your boys, like things like that. There's just a relationship that I haven't been able to get with especially after I graduated from Vanderbilt. Like even in everyday stuff, you just can't get that depth of a relationship with anyone else. It's different. It's nothing. It's like a unique circumstance that brings you together in ways that nothing else really can. And it's, at the end of my days, I know they're going to be my best friends, and I'm excited to be able to have that type of relationship with someone, especially all the people I have it with. So it's been a blessing.
Well, this conversation has been a blessing. And Blake, I can't thank you enough, bud, for sharing a little bit of your story, the good stuff, the not so good stuff, the lessons that are there. And it's guys like you who, one, makes me proud to be a former ball player on the same program with the black and gold, made a new friend. I love hearing these stories, the enthusiasm that's there. And I just want to thank you for helping us tell the oral history player by player of our program. So thank you, Bud, for spending some time with us tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's been great reliving some of that stuff. I haven't spoken about it in a while, so I appreciate it. It brought up some very, very good memories.
Well, having not met your wife or your mother, please apologize on behalf of me. You for me, speak for me. I hope I didn't say anything inappropriate or wrong tonight, but thank
You're
you,
good.
Blake, for sharing all of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hang in there with me for just a second before I sign off.
Yep.
Guys, every Tuesday, we keep telling the oral history of our program. And we've got Commodores lined up for the next 3 months. And I'm still continuing to get more and more to come on. So please keep coming back on Tuesdays. These stories are important. I don't care if you were an all SEC, All American, you played in the league. I don't care if you never saw the field. You're part of the program. You're making up the stories. You're helping us to combine our community over the decades. Blake and I had never met until a few months ago virtually, but now he's my best friend. I'm going to call him as soon as we get off the phone. No, guys, please keep coming back. These stories are important. I enjoy doing them every week, and I hope you guys keep coming back and hearing them and participating. You guys, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Hey, Bernard, can I say one thing before you
Yes,
sign off? I
yes,
promised
sir.
I'd give my buddy Ladarius Banks a shout out. So shout out him. He commented on the Facebook post. So I'd be remiss if I didn't give him some love here. I'm sorry I
Love Coach
interrupted you. I just
Banks.
had to get it in.
No, love Coach Banks. He was on a while back and enjoyed getting to meet him a few
Yeah.
months ago. So I love this. I get to meet Commodores from all generations. So it's good stuff. But thank you again, Blake. Don't go anywhere. Y'all have a good night.